A huge game of cat and mouse erupted in the stage today with SD Worx and DSM not wanting to do each other's work before a sprint finish. And we're heading south of Clermont-Ferrand, going towards the Pyrenees, going through Pompadour first. These villages look pretty sweet. You know, I was nearly going to go to the seminary back in the day, and that's a nice little chapel. But anyway, Montignac-Lascaux to Collon-à-la-Rouge. It's a very difficult stage, actually. It has the most elevation gain of the whole race in a stage, 147 Ks, but it's all lumps and bumps up and down. And so who was going to control this hard stage, even though there's a flat finish? And there were breakaway attempts, initially before coverage started, but also when coverage started, from Serratizit, Trek, Canyon SRAM, UAE. The problem for them was there was always an SD Worx rider trying to muck things up, getting in the move. There's Patino for the Movistar rider there trying to get in the breakaway. And so eventually these moves amounted to naught. There were a lot of teams trying initially though. But yeah, SD Worx marshalled it. Kopecky on the front in the yellow jersey. But it was a day they wanted to go for Wiebes in the sprint. Despite these punchy hills, there's like 5 Ks of climbing they're about to embark upon now. Maggia is setting a steady tempo that they were happy with. But Julie van der Velde attacks, and they let her go because Phoenix de Koning had been going for the QOM points. Her teammate Kastelijn is in the jersey right now, so SD Worx just let her go, don't mark her, solitary rider. And she gets a nice gap. And through the QOM point, when there are moves, SD Worx mark it from FDJ and from Little Trek. So they were clearly trying to mark proceedings, but van der Velde was almost forgotten about. And they get to the next climb, and yeah, Niewiadoma actually tries to use almost the excuse of sprinting for the QOM points, and she keeps going. But I think she was hoping that she would be joined by a longer Borghini who was her partner in crime yesterday. And there's a Jumbo-Visma rider bridging across, but you can see the spectre of Marlon Reusser chasing behind. So again, that's not going anywhere because SD Worx are controlling it with 54 Ks to go. And, you know, Niewiadoma is a serious GC contender here, so she kind of stops anyway. And the gap to van der Velde now erupts with the biggest game of chicken. No, SD Worx are not pacing right now. With Madras on the front. They were like, we're not controlling it. We've won a stage. We do have the best sprinter in the world in the yellow jersey, but we're not controlling a solitary rider just by putting Madras on the front. And so you see that's why Phoenix de Koning are on the front, Kastelijn in the QOM jersey, and AG Insurance just keeping Moolman to the front. They're not pacing. They're in fact sort of just monitoring proceedings, marking any counter moves. It goes to 145. And like SD Worx, they've got all 7 riders in this group, but they're just like, we're not pacing and we'll wait for someone else to do it, and DSM blink. It got to 223, and this is my question. It's like, if you're going to eventually lose the game of chicken anyway, don't let it go to 223. Once it gets to 120, 1 minute, and you're like, we're going to lose, we're going to pace anyway because we want the stage, just pace then, because now you're committed. And Canyon SRAM tried to pull an echelon, but van der Velde was super strong. And yeah, like it was at 108, but now DSM had to spend their whole team, kill their lead out. 10 Ks to go. It did look good though. 20 seconds. Like no way a solitary rider who's been out there for 50 Ks at this point is making it. But look at DSM. Pfeiffer Georgie goes on the radio. Maybe she said, listen, we can't eat into our Charlotte Cool lead out too much. Knock it off. Don't burn yourself chasing her. She's only at 22 seconds, but that gap starts to go up. And despite DSM working for an hour and a half and SD Worx having a full team, they don't put anyone forward. 7 Ks to go. With 6.7 Ks, it's 30 seconds. Kastelijn can't believe it. She's still at the front. And DSM are starting to look ragged. And, you know, Pfeiffer Georgie's the last woman for Charlotte Cool. She doesn't want to go too early. And as I said, you can say this is like game theory genius by SD Worx, but I don't think it is either because they got 7 riders. They also really want to win the stage. It's 31 seconds with 6 Ks to go. Like, Wiebes wants to win this stage, and they marked moves earlier. So at this point, DSM aren't bluffing. They're cooked. They do eventually put a rider on forward, but I would have put Reusser and Majerus forward and Cecchini and Bredevold if they could. Cecchini did crash a lot earlier because 35 seconds, 32 seconds with 3 Ks to go. And, you know, if van der Velde had an aero helmet and was using the aeroed, she wins this stage, or had maybe narrow bars. It was that close of a run thing, despite Reusser now going to the front. Of course, she looks back to Kopecky, who I think wants her to move over to the left to close off the road, but in fact, the other teammates of SD Worx, you can see they're trying to move forward with Vollering on the right-hand side, so Reusser didn't close that off. Kopecky tried to get on the radio, but yeah, she does eat into this gap. But still, she's off the front now. 2.1 k's to go, 20 seconds. SD Works are no longer there. It's just Kopecky for Wiebes. Royce is boxed in. Vollering's not going to pull when she's protecting her GC position, not wanting to crash. Kopecky's looking to find Wiebes. And DSM are running out of riders pretty quickly. 1k to go under the Zwift Flamme Rouge banner, and everyone was hoping, could Van der Velde pull off the improbable, hold off the peloton with what originally was maybe a QOM move that just continued on. And you see, DSM are now using Pfeiffer Georgie, the last woman, for Charlotte Kool to pull her back with 900 meters to go, and she's cooked at this point, and she gets overlapped by, I think, Sanguinetti for Balsamo, and she gets swamped. Now, Kool eventually tries to find a good position. She goes in front of Kopecky, and I think cuts off Anderson on Uno X, and yeah, she's on, I think, Manley's wheel for Jayco, but she doesn't have a final woman. Kopecky has Wiebes right in the pocket. Neither of those two have done anything for the last 2 hours. And yeah, it's like Little Trek bringing back Julie Van der Velde. But still at this point, we're hoping the 450 meters could be wrong. But Jumbo-Visma, Little Trek, and then eventually the big lead out from Lotte Kopecky, the yellow jersey, put paid to what was a heroic effort from Van der Velde. But it wasn't to be. 100 meters to go or less, she's brought in by the classic superstar who launches the best sprinter in the world to the barrier side, and the inevitable happens. So I guess SD Works were right in the end, but I would argue that leaving it to the last 150 meters is a little bit too late as well. They got lucky with DSM being so generous, but there's no luck involved in having the best sprinter in the world and probably the best woman to lead her out, Lotte Kopecky. So Wiebes wins the stage ahead of Vos, good sprint for second, Kopecky, then Consoni, Balsamo, Manley, Kool seventh, Anderson, Paladin, Julie de Wilde, not to be confused with Van der Velde, rounding out the top 10. Here's what Wiebes had to say after the stage.
Can you describe the sprint at the moment you decided to launch? It was the perfect move?
Yeah, the breakaway was of course still gone with 1 kilometer to go, and yeah, we took the corner good. All the time I stayed with Lotte, and yeah, the plan was that she would go and deliver me good, and that's exactly how she did. I think it was Marianne started the sprint on the right of me, and then I was able to yeah, catch her.
It was really hard to catch Julie Van der Velde. Did you fear not sprinting for the win?
No, we always believe in it, and yeah, we felt it was not really up to us to start the chase because yeah, we still have some hard days to go, and we want to yeah, not let the other girls go full out, and then yeah, DSM did that, and we helped towards the end when we felt it was really necessary.
In terms of GC, Kopecky actually extends her gap on Lippert in the yellow jersey by 4 seconds because she came third, so took some bonies, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's a really difficult stage, the last hour and a half. I think it's Vollering time and GC time, but it remains to be seen. Will they try to put Van Vleuten under pressure? I can't wait to watch, and I'll see you with a recap tomorrow. Ciao.